This morning, it involves a local woman's story of survival, and it's making national headlines.
That's right. She was a victim of domestic violence, and she had a plan to get herself to safety. Take a look. A DeLand woman slipped a note to someone at her veterinarian's office and asked for help getting away from her abusive boyfriend. 28-year-old Carolyn Reichel later told deputies she'd been held captive for 2 days and had been beaten and held at gunpoint. She told investigators she had to come up with an escape plan, so she convinced her boyfriend to let her take her dog to the vet. He insisted on joining her, so she quietly handed over a note to the vet that read, "Call the cops. My boyfriend is threatening me. He has a gun. Please don't let him know." Well, the vet did call the police, who came and took 39-year-old Jeremy Floyd into custody and recovered a gun. Reichel was taken to the hospital and treated for injuries to her head, a black eye, and bruises. Officers also found 2 bullet holes inside the couple's home. Floyd is now charged with domestic violence, aggravated assault with a firearm, and false imprisonment, and he's in jail without bond. Sadly, stories like this one are all too common, but not all of these victims manage to get away. And here to talk with us this morning about that story and how you can help someone who might be in trouble is the CEO of Harbor House of Central Florida, Michelle Sperzel. Great to have you. Thanks for being here. When you hear a story like this one, I imagine you say to yourself, yep, very familiar to you and what you hear every day.
Very familiar. I think that the things that stand out to me is how courageous this survivor is by having an escape plan and safety planning for herself, getting out of the house with her dog, going someplace where there were more people, and then also being able to reach out for help.
Was that story unique to you in terms of how she did it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing that was unique, well, not unique, but just so important to this is that someone listened to her. And that when she handed the note over, someone said, "Oh my goodness, let's take action."
Do you think the person at the veterinarian's office suspected right away that there's been a history of problems with this relationship?
It just depends. I don't know as far as if that was her normal vet or whatnot, but at the same point in time, the fact that the person saw it, took it seriously, and took action.
Because not everyone would.
Not everybody would. Some people say, that's their issue, I don't want to get involved, that's just domestic violence, it's between 2 people. But what this shows is that domestic violence affects an entire community, and also when she went to that office, the action that they took there by not only calling but safety planning for the staff and also the people who were there. So when law enforcement arrived, there weren't as many people in the lobby. Employees were in a different area. There was a lot of thought that went into it.
Michelle, why is the act of leaving the most dangerous thing that a domestic violence victim has to undertake?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's because that survivor is taking control back, and that abuser then feels that loss of control, so they're going to insert it and exert it even more. Right.
What does that person do? Because, and I think this is the one thing, anybody that's watching right now who knows someone who is going through this, or they themselves are going through this, they are so scared to take that step. How do you guys help them to take that step?
Absolutely. So we do it in a few different ways. One, by having our emergency hotline where someone can call, and we'll safety plan with someone over the phone, and we'll help you come up with a plan of how you leave. We'll talk through things to pull together if you're going to leave. It's very similar to a hurricane kit, like having your financials, having birth records for the kids, having vet records for the animals. We'll help you pull that together, but we'll also talk about that act of when you want to leave, how you can best do it. And a lot of times when we have a survivor who comes into the emergency shelter or who's working with our outreach office, they'll say, "I knew I had to leave today, otherwise he was going to kill me."
He insisted on going to the vet's office with her.
Yeah.
Warning sign, clearly.
Yeah, and very normal.
Very normal. What
Yeah.
other warning signs are there in toxic relationships?
Sure. So if you have a friend and you're wondering what's going on, one, if you're seeing that person less and less, or that she's making excuses or he's making excuses that he can't hang out with you because of X, Y, and Z. Someone who's overly pleasing to their partner, just saying, "I want to make sure that I do this so that so-and-so is happy." Checking in with their partner a lot, more than necessary, via like, "Oh, I'm going to the store," leaving the store, going here, leaving here, going to work, some things like that. And I would say for me, one of the biggest things to look at would be someone who's really confident, who's not as confident as they used to be. And so when you think about domestic violence, oftentimes it's not starting with physical, it's starting with emotional, and it's also starting with mental and financial. So someone who has a good profession or a good job but seems to be on allowance is another sign.
Absolutely.
Can someone call the Harbor House earlier on in the relationship? Because oftentimes you think of that as a last-minute or
Yeah, no.
last-ditch effort.
Absolutely, and our the statewide hotline, which is 1-800-500-1119. That's a great number to call because we help people who are friends who are worried about their loved ones, in addition to someone who's reaching out for help.
Listen, God bless what you guys do. It is truly incredible and always in need of donations. So if you're just sitting at home thinking, I'd love to help what these people do, certainly go to their website as well. Michelle, thank you so
very
much.
much.
You guys
Very
do
much.
amazing work in our
Thank you.
community. We appreciate you. All right, so we want to know, what do you think about what this woman did to save herself? You can share your thoughts on our Facebook page this morning, and then we will bring them to you later on Good Day Extra.